That's very good.
Very good.
Maybe that's the, that's an probably one of the end decisions.
General discussion, we should.
Haven't done any, yeah, I need to, haven't done anything with Is it next Thursday we meet? Yes, it is. It's right before Easter. Yeah. The Justice Center. We'll talk, we can talk. That's off now. Sure.
It's enjoyable, and it's always good to
Good morning. Okay. I'll call this meeting of Sunny County Commissioners for Tuesday, March 20th to order. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Stacy on a short prayer.
Assume an attitude of prayer. Lord, thank you for this glorious day, which we should never take for granted, receiving another day. And as we are on this last day of winter, we'll thank you in advance for the glorious spring coming before us. And also in this special time as we look forward to the resurrection of your Son and our Lord Jesus. Please be with us and guide us, that thy will be done as we conduct the business of the citizens of Seneca County. In your name we pray. Amen.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Here.
Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Commissioner Stacy?
Here.
So we need a motion to accept the digital audio video recording of our meeting held Tuesday, March 13th.
So move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes. Adjustments to the agenda?
I'd like to add under old business, just a brief discussion on the wind farms / turbine meeting request that we've received.
Okay, that's the April 6th meeting.
Yes. Or 5th. April 5th.
April 5th? What?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Stacy, do you have some stuff?
Yeah, I wanna, under new business, RFQ for engineer and architect. And I think, parking, I think John's ready to start painting, so I wanna make sure we're all on the same page with getting that started.
Okay, and is the fiber on the agenda?
Yeah, it's under old business, it's already on the agenda.
Okay. And the refrigerator?
Oh, I did not bring that in with me,
Okay.
sorry. Sheriff just said that to you yesterday.
Okay, the first item of business is the 911 fiber project.
Yes, I sent out the proposed IRU. We had got the 911 committee back together. There's some issues with our current plan, or what plan we had with the T1 lines running the 911 system, the next generation 911 system. The T1s are not working. So this pushed the committee to get this moving a little quicker than what we thought. So I asked some of the 911 committee and the IT committee to come in today to help me explain it, discuss it, if you had any questions or comments. You know, we've been talking about this for a while. The IT committee obviously recommended it a year ago. And with the 911 committee and the next gen 911 not being able to run on the T1s, it's more important to get this fiber put in the ground. We did do some checking with AT&T and Spectrum. Neither company would dedicate a dark fiber to the county. And just the leases or the service fees were for 3 years for AT&T, it was like $75,000. And that would not dedicate dark fiber to us.
So we're looking at Bascom
Yes,
to put some dedicated fiber in for the county.
yes.
And uninterrupted, well, why don't we talk, what's the big decision we have to make as to whether we want to contract with Bascom to do that for the county on a long-term basis?
Yes.
Okay? And that cost is?
total cost. Let me get it. Total cost is $719,526.12.
Is this paid from the 911 fund?
The majority would be paid for the 911 fund. I think there is a responsibility for the general fund, to be determined obviously by us, because there's a couple of these things that, because the lines we were bringing in is so close to the county offices, and our long-term goal of the county is to be on the network.
Okay.
So,
There was some question as to some potential interruption of the fiber under the rivers, or that would be over the top, or there would be some gaps. Is that yes, no?
No, it's going to be a complete ring. They had all the paths where the fiber would run, instead of being underground, may be in specially secured conduit
Okay.
to overpass.
Because there was some question about that early on as to whether
Yeah.
it would be interrupted at some point by a T1 or connected, but this will be complete
It's
fiber.
going to
all
be
the
a
way through.
complete fiber ring, correct.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've got a couple things. One is, I remember when we started talking about this, we talked about owning it, and now we're talking about leasing it with a finite term. So, I'm curious about that change. I'm also curious to see some of the data on what the alternatives were, because I've not seen anything, a quote or an estimate from anybody, AT&T, Spectrum, or anything. Nothing against Bascom, but in respect to the taxpayers, we got to make sure that we're doing our due diligence. And I have not seen anything.
I have
So-
both quotes from Spectrum and AT&T. It's for a Metro Ethernet, or
Yeah.
however they
Metro
described
Ethernet or
it.
ELAN.
Because I had somebody from Spectrum reach out to me as late as last week.
And he's part of that team.
So I just have not seen any of this data. So
Well, we actually had quotes from them about a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
maybe more. Well, I went out to visit, and that's when we had some discussions with Bascom, and they were significantly less. So this
And
is.
Spectrum says that they will not do it because it's 911.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this was the second round. If we have quotes now, it's the second round
Yeah.
of quotes, because we have done the due diligence on this at least once and maybe twice.
yeah, I haven't seen it. So that's. And then and I am curious about this, where we started out where we were going to own it, and now we're not. So I mean, I guess what's the answer to that? Why would we not own it?
What was
It was a fiber swap, and we were going to own it.
the keeping up with the, maintaining the line, those kinds of things was the key factor in, correct me if I'm wrong, Jake.
Yeah.
As we got talking further with Bascom and the possibilities, what we could do, just made the most sense for us. I'll let you take it. You're
So,
obviously
and
first.
the initial plan, we were going to pay and quote-unquote own a couple small sections of the fiber ring itself, and then use an IRU to swap fibers within that section that we put in and the section that was already existing. So through an IRU, even originally, we were going to then have a complete ring, but we were never going to own the entire ring. It was only going to be through an IRU fiber swap that we would then have a complete path. We would have technically put in a couple small segments to finish that ring off though. So now we are actually contracting through Bascom to have that ring completed, and we're still going to have that IRU that gives us a complete fiber path around the entire ring. So.
Yeah, my concern is that we're putting 911 and safety on this ring, and we don't own it. So that's my concern. If there's a bankruptcy, if there's a sale, a merger, and this thing sunsets in 20 years, 20 years comes pretty quick. So, that's my concern. That when we were looking at this initially, we were building half, we were swapping, we would at least own our main trunk, or the half of it in dark fiber. And now we're locking ourselves into an agreement where Bascom has this exclusive right to service it, maintain it, lease it back to us, and in 20 years it sunsets, and we've funded the whole whole construction.
What is our situation now with the 911 lines? They're T1 lines,
Yes.
and do we own any of those?
No.
No.
Okay.
So
So at this point in time, we are at the mercy of
AT&T,
AT&T.
yes.
So,
They
I
cannot
mean,
get the system working on the,
right, but I mean, the point is that our liability doesn't, except for the fact that we are now relying on AT&T, and that by this contract, we'll be relying on the ability of the Bascom Group, our situation doesn't change in that we don't own anything now to begin with.
Yeah, we don't improve it, our situation.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right, so,
So, I have a lot of questions on the contract. I've gotten an email back, and I haven't had a chance to review the email back, because I just reviewed the contract last night. I mean, we can go through that now, or
Well, I think
whatever,
we-
but I'm
yeah,
not
we've
in a
got-
position to.
okay, we've got counsel reviewing the contract and has some questions.
he reviewed it, and, his only reply this morning was, you know, if we wanted to take out that, there was just a confidentiality on the bottom of the page that, we were all well aware
Right.
that this is a public project, that once this is entered into, it's not
Yes,
confidential
right.
anymore.
But,
so-
and Jake, you went through some of the covenants of the contract as well, we have some
Yeah.
questions about that. So it isn't in its final form
No, it's,
at this point, is it?
yeah.
Unless
Yes.
you guys have changes to the contract, otherwise it's
Okay, I mean, there were some
been
concerns-
reviewed and approved by the prosecutor.
You know, there were some thoughts about putting a negative covenant in, making certain that Bascom couldn't put a lien on that property or put any, or borrow any additional money against that line to protect us.
I'm happy to go through all my questions, and we can talk about them here if you want.
Well, I don't know that we're going to be able to make a decision today, or do we need to make a decision today?
We don't need to, I have the support here if you need, we wanted to show the need of the product
Okay.
and the urgency for, to move forward. Because our next generation 911 money, or project, we've spent, we've bought, we've paid for, is not being used, because the AT&T T1s will not handle it. It may be something we're gonna have to get council involved, because, you know, it just won't run on these T1 lines.
But to be clear, 911 is working, it's
Yes,
fine,
yes.
it's stable, there's no question. And the decisions that we've made, we relied on staff recommendations that the T1s would work, and they don't.
Not
So-
necessarily staff recommendation, it was.
Dan told me it was.
It was
gonna work.
Callworks, that told us, so we relied on, unfortunately, we relied on the vendor, that told us the T1s would work. They have the system, their system running on T1s elsewhere, but AT&T says there is nothing else that they can do, that their T1s are working fine, and Callworks cannot get the system up and running.
Jake, would there be a reason for that?
It's only an assumption,
Okay,
but my gut feeling is quality of lines that our T1s and circuits are on. The T1s they actually make multiple hops between endpoints, so it's not one straight circuit, one straight line. In our area, the tech had told us that there was actually 3 hops of the T1.
Okay.
So they have their tests with a clear data path, but the quality that we need for voice transmission and the data for the
yeah,
911 isn't up to par. The emergency call work system works fine on T1s. They've proven that. They have it running in other locations. The quality of those lines must be better.
is this more in rural areas than it is within the metro?
No, because we're having problems within the city limits, even from the the city municipal building to the EOC, which is not very far, and we're still having quality of service issues between
Okay.
those points there. So,
So the quality of lines and the capability of lines for both data and voice?
correct. They will not handle the bandwidth at the quality level that we need to not interrupt. It could potentially run, but it's one of those where the dispatcher may get 1 out of every 4 words that the person on the other end is speaking. So,
Okay.
I know one of the things the committee early on discussed was about, you know, the lines being secure, being dedicated to our needs, and not being, okay, we make this happen, and all of a sudden then other stuff's gonna happen, and they're going to be dedicated to our
correct. Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not the expert in the terminology, but
Yeah.
we're gonna have that, and that was important. And then, like I said, as we moved through the phases of this and what works best and provides the service we need, and again, we felt no greater risk, if less of a risk than what we currently had and what cannot handle what we need now. I guess it's up to the wishes of the board, but if any of the others wanted to say something, I don't know that we need to make a decision today, but since they're here, if they had
Sure.
something briefly they'd like to comment about the process we've been through and their comfort with this direction, I would like to hear if they wanted to add anything.
I can add a few things. The project as it sits with the next generation 911 and the T1. T1s are outdated architecture technology. From what we've discovered through a lot of our research is that they're not going to be supporting those into the future. So T1s, even if we use them currently, we would still need to do this. And as far as the public safety infrastructure, the critical infrastructure that's needed for this project, in my opinion, and I know the opinion of a few of these folks, is that we would be much better off investing in ourselves instead of the future of AT&T, which I think is pretty solid. Our future here, using a Bascom IRU with Bascom Telephone, they have a critical need to have this work because they live here. So I think that's a good thing. And I don't think we need to get a big picture of this, that this dark fiber is specifically for the 911 currently, but there's other uses that could come down the road. So this isn't a cost-saving measure, we're spending money on ourselves instead of spending money on someone else. If we do the Metro Ethernet, they call it Metro ASE, I've looked at several different quotes. If we do that, the money that we're going to spend to secure connectivity and internet, or not internet, but connectivity and fiber network access is going to deplete our budget to the point that we will never be able to do this again, unless the state changes the way that they fund 911. So right now is the time to strike, I believe, monetarily from the budget perspective, because right now we have the money to do this. We're going to need something from you guys just to help us get through it. But it's a long-term project, and I think it'll increase the security and the network speed to be successful with the project that we've already incurred the cost of, which is the ECW CallWorks 911 system.
Can we be more specific in quantifying the amount of help you're gonna need from the general fund? Do we have, I mean, I know we talked about we need some, but.
Right, the general fund's gonna have to advance it, whether we could do a note to the treasurer's
Right.
office.
Well,
We
this
could do
comes-
some-
but-
It will have to be advanced by the county. They only, since we've funded the new next generation 911 system, after that project's done and paid for, they will have maybe $100,000 left cash at the end of just this project that they're putting in place. So
From the
it will-
911 money?
Yes, from
Yes.
the next generation 911
Okay.
money.
All right.
The IRU kind of spells out different phases. It would be my recommendation, and we can look at it however you want, but some of those legs, I think the general fund could obviously support. It was about 250,000, because it's bringing it, it's needed for the 911, but it's coming by our office, so we're gonna connect our office, we're gonna go to the Justice Center and then to the PD, so.
So, and this does connect all the villages and the sheriff?
It connects all the 911 PSAPs together, which is the Sheriff's Office, Fostoria Police Department, Tiffin Police Department, and the EOC. And
We talked eventually about getting into the villages, did we not?
we did, but I don't believe this is what that, we're not at that phase yet. Right now, we're still trying to get 911 connected so that it runs at all for the next generation 911.
Yeah.
Current 911's running fine. It's running on old architecture and it's old technology, but it is running fine. It's pretty solid.
So we're talking about the fiber, how about the hardware that you're using?
The hardware we would need would have to come from our vendors to do the endpoint connectivity that we don't currently have because we don't have fiber.
Are we still on board with Sentinel and that as a backup site?
The alternate EOC would be in this project. It would be dark and there would be there would be connectivity there. We probably wouldn't take advantage of it unless we could somehow bundle that in and maybe save a little cash.
So
Because that is a backup to a backup.
Right.
So we have the backup of the EOC, which is the fourth PSAP. So the alternate EOC would have everything run to it, it just wouldn't be anything connected to it. I think I'm explaining that right.
Okay, thanks, Ken.
Jake, is it true that we have to do all of the segments to get the loop?
Yes,
So if we just did a piece of it, we wouldn't have a loop, we'd have a stub.
correct,
So if we want to talk about the redundancy of a loop,
yes.
then we have to do the full project.
We have to have the full ring for the redundancy, correct.
Is there any piece of that that isn't there for the redundancy? Because we were talking about some of the stubs maybe delaying or.
Fostoria would be the only one that may be on a spoke as opposed to the main ring that we have, centrally with Tiffin, Sheriff's Office, and EOC.
But that's part of the 911, so that's
Right.
critical.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
One other thing that I'd like to interject too, just looking at, since we brought up like the numbers and some of that talk and stuff like that, when we had looked at ELAN, even before Spectrum had said, well, you can't run 911 on our systems, we were looking at 42,000 per year just to lease some ELAN circuits. And, when you extrapolate that out over the 20 years, that would be around $840,000 as opposed to $719 that this project would cost. And then that does not include any of the maintenance or anything else. They should cover it, but, so overall project to get the connectivity done is a little bit higher if we were to totally lease from Spectrum. Now that we know we can't do 911, that kind of puts them out of the loop as an option though, so.
Any thoughts from law enforcement?
I agree with Ken. We've been talking about this for a while. The time is now to make it happen. And nobody likes spending $750,000. I know that. But we're investing in our future and making sure everything works. And I'm not going to go into all the struggles I have had with AT&T. We'll be here for a while. But, I always like spending money locally, and Bascom is about as local as you can get. And I think when I call them and I tell them I have a problem, they're going to fix it right now. Not like Bascom or AT&T when they say, we'll be there the next day. But I think right now's the time to do it. We're having struggles with Profinix since we took it off of the T1 line with the information in the cars, getting to the cars, the delay in pulling up reports because of the way it's run now. And I'm sure that the villages, police departments are having the same struggles we're having. So hopefully we can get that addressed. There, no, I thought they already did. But I think now's the time to do it. I know there's always going to be differences in what an agreement says. You're always going to have that. But I think Bascom does a fine job.
Thank you, Sheriff.
I'd say the same thing as the sheriff. Right now, with everything that we've had with the T1 lines, all the issues that we currently have, just looking at it from the standpoint, like the sheriff said, $750,000, we're gonna end up spending that whether it's here locally or an outside vendor. And then if we look at this overall, yes, this is for the 911 project. This is to get the 911 project to get off the ground, to get it to work. But what else does that open up for the entire county? I mean, this opens many doors that we have this now. So, I mean, if we look on a bigger scale, there are so many benefits to this, not just the 911 system. The 911 system is required, but what we can gain from this, I mean, the county overall services, shared services, cost savings down the line, I mean, we haven't even explored the possibilities for that. So, like the sheriff said, my recommendation is to have Bascom do this and get it in the ground. As we were joking, next week would be nice.
Thank you, Ken. All right. What's your pleasure, Commissioner? Anyone else? Anyone else have any comments that they'd like to make about fiber?
you want us to put it on so we have a chance to review the feedback you got from those questions you had from yesterday next week to address it, we've had a chance to hear from the folks and we can.
All right, so we'll make a decision next week. Very good. Okay, Justice Center, Commissioner Stacy.
Municipal court is up and running, yes.
Pictures to prove it.
Yeah, pictures to prove it. So they were closed last week and doing the move and happily open for business yesterday and are grateful for their new accommodations and being part of the whole project with the county and expressed that to the three of us last night. So greatly, are so happy we're there. Clerk of Courts is moving as we speak and getting situated so they can be totally operating out of their new space. I imagine their phone, are their phones working?
Yeah,
The
she's
phones- yeah, okay,
in
good.
and working out of the new space.
Okay.
Just a matter of a few files she's bringing over, is what I talked to her the other day, so
Perfect.
she's running.
Then the plan is to continue then the following 2 weeks for the Common Pleas 2 and Common Pleas 1 to get moved. Team meeting is next Thursday at noon, and in the Justice Center. Is that correct? I do believe. Real quick. And at that
Yeah.
point, is that correct?
Yeah, fourth floor of the Justice Center, so.
Okay. Yeah, there's chairs, there's no documents there, they will not be moved yet, but that's where the meeting will be. We'll be talking through from some more of the details, start to put those together between now and then on things for the ribbon cutting, which is proposed to happen May 17th, late afternoon, that's a Thursday. So we're not disrupting court services, that'll all be in operation by that point, by almost a month for some. So that's the target for that, and I guess nothing else on the Justice Center at this point. in
Meeting on
time.
the 29th is noon.
Yes,
Okay,
fourth floor.
fourth floor.
Yep.
Anything else on that? OSU extension, I assume that's you as well?
It is.
Mike, you want to leave? They don't want to stay.
Sure. Anybody that has anything to do with fiber that doesn't want to listen to the rest of this conversation is welcome to depart if they wish. You're welcome to stay as well.
Give them the options. So we get them done first. and-
Go back
I
over.
think they took option A.
I'm gonna help the clerk finish reading.
Opting out.
Thank you.
They-
Let them get back to work. Thank you.
Another effort that has been taking some time, like fiber. Since I came to the board in 2013, but is the reinstatement of offering an OSU Extension agent in agriculture back in Seneca County. And as reported about a month ago to both of you here, giving you an update of where we have come with this, I would like to propose that we move into a memorandum of understanding between Ohio State University Extension, Agriculture and Natural Resources, and the Seneca County Board of Commissioners for the reinstatement of having an ag agent. And very specifically, I'm just going to read the first line of this, job responsibilities. The formal position description, the Extension Advisory Committee met Thursday night and went through everything. They don't have it back to us, but it's obviously going to be condensed from this. This was a combination of their input and our local input that came up with this responsibility sheet and what we were looking for. And we're just quite pleased on a local level that this is a very unique ag agent position. It's not the same as what it typically has been out there, because we identified local needs in the niches that we want to see developed and that fit into the community momentum that we have going. That has involved agriculture, has involved talking about food and consumer demands and all of those things. And this opening line here is the extension educator, agriculture and ag market development will work collaboratively with a team of extension professionals and volunteers to provide leadership for the development of educational programs and applied research in agriculture and community development to meet current and future needs in specialty market development, connecting growers to markets. And I'm gonna let that be the summary, because like I said, there's a lot more words here, and we incorporated a lot of things, and we tried not to miss things. We have one extension educator here. I'll let you introduce yourself to the group.
Sure.
And some of the others weren't able to come today. I thought maybe some of the master gardeners were going to come, but didn't know if they could do that or not. But we greatly appreciate from Erie County
Yes.
coming over to be here for support of this movement this morning.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Mary Beth Albright, and as Commissioner Stacy said, I am a 4-H educator by trade. I currently work out of Erie County and have a temporary administrative appointment for the past couple months, which brings me here to you today. I'm serving in an interim regional director position for our 10-county EERA. So I've gotten to work here at the tail end with Commissioner Stacy and others in OSU Extension, and we're glad we're finally at this point. So we're very excited. We were talking at the Extension Advisory Committee meeting the other day. I think it's been around 7 years or so since we've had an ag presence here in Seneca County. And we just want to thank you for your continued support. And like I said, we're very excited about moving forward with this.
Thank you, Mary Beth, for
You're
being
very
here.
welcome.
Appreciate
You're
it.
very welcome.
Welcome.
It was a pretty day for a drive.
I assume that was a motion?
Yeah, and this is the draft. Yeah. Okay, and this is a draft of what that MOU would look like until they actually have a person they're offering it to. The numbers can't be plugged into here. And I'll just add for the discussion purposes of the motion is that we are fortunate to be at a point where we're going to have a cost share for the agents' compensation and benefits for the first 3 years. And that's what this MOU outlines with the parameters on those. And then we have a little additional some operating expenses as well as travel that's incorporated, but they have not to exceed numbers in the MOU, which is something we always like to see. And so I thought that was important, so.
Then we'll talk to OSU about a new building, right, or precinct?
Yeah, I was just in it the other day, so we,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, so you know the need, right? So that's a motion that I will second.
We don't have it approved by Derek. Do you want
Approved by whom?
Pending,
Derek? You want pending?
you'd probably want it
Pending,
pending.
yeah, okay, pending,
Yeah, I want to keep the momentum going.
yeah, pending council's
Yes.
approval.
Okay.
Roll call.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirchner?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Pardon me? Mayor Chu, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you. I have a few updates. I think this is the first commissioner meeting I attended since November 7 election. So I want to take the time for thanking all Seneca County residents again for supporting our mental health and recovery levy. I also want to mention that Saturday we lost Phyllis Putnam. You guys might have known her. She was a board member for us for 10 years. Was a Seneca County appointee board member from 2005 to 2015. She passed away Saturday. She was 88 years old. She was a true advocate for individuals with mental illness. She was on NAMI Ohio board. She was also the board executive director in Hancock County for 25 years. So she was part of League of Women Voters here in Seneca County. So she was a very active member. So I just wanted to mention that to you guys. Few other things they're working on. We are in a process with our board in looking over fiscal year 2019 local levy applications. So the deadline for that was March 15. We are reviewing the applications now, and in the next 2 months we will approve in contracts for fiscal year 2019. So this is again mental health and addiction services specific to Seneca County residents. We have a community event. I just pull up the flyer, make sure I give you guys the right information. Well, we have a community event sharing addiction and community resources here in Seneca County on Wednesday, March 28th at 6 p.m. at A Little Faith Ministries Church here on Washington Street, South Washington Street. So that's again another event to share resources to community members about addictions. I also want to inform you guys about critical incident stress management team. We are putting together a training to create a board district CISM team. What this team will do is really respond to critical incidents after the fact. Best example I can give you guys is the Hope Loudon house fire that we had a few months ago. So in situations like that where the community needs our help or the school district needs our help, we will dispatch the CIS team to go and provide grief services, debriefing, and so on. So we are going through the training process. It will be a two-day training, April 2nd and 3rd. at NCO ESC. We will have our team certified through the state and through the CISM network. Again, this is a team they will have available 24/7 in case of a tragedy. It can be anything, and it can be available to any private or public entity in Seneca, Sandusky, and Wyandotte counties. Again, this is usually after the fact. You might have an incident happening at one of the local schools or whatever it might be. First responder might need, a first responder agency might need our support, so we have this team that can be dispatched. This team will be made out of mental health professionals, faith-based individuals, school staff, first responders, law enforcement, EMTs, EMS. So it's a really mix of people who are part of this team, but everybody will have to complete the 2-day training to be on this team. We actually aim to have approximately 25 people on the team because they will have to rotate and be on call. And we actually had 52 people who signed up, so we were overwhelmed by the support. Another thing I would like to mention, this is a little bit of sad news, but we see through our system more and more pregnant women who are addicted. And it's really difficult to take care of them or to put them into a detox program just because of the health of the baby. It's obviously difficult when the baby is born. Often they are life-flighted to a bigger hospital system in the state of Ohio for care. So one thing we have implemented is, first of all, there are very few agencies in the state who will treat the pregnant women just because of the high risk. It's just the way it is. And usually nobody wants to put them to a straight detox. Everybody's trying to maybe switch them from heroin or whatever they are using to Subutex or Suboxone, which is still opiate, but it's a legal drug, okay? It's kind of just to be able for us to monitor them to the pregnancy. So we just enter into a contract, is a pilot project in Findlay, Ohio, through Early New Mind is the name of the agency, and Blanchard Valley Health System, where they will accept Seneca County residents who are pregnant to put them through a treatment protocol, to monitor them, to help them with their delivery and so on. So if any Seneca County pregnant woman struggles with drugs, probably the easiest way is to contact our board office and make all the arrangements. So again, unfortunately we see an up number in pregnant women in Seneca County who are addicted. And I'm not sure exactly what we can do, but on the front end, prevention is probably the best. So if you struggle with drugs, maybe you want to think twice about protecting during sex. Did I just say that in a public meeting? But it's just the reality. It's just the reality. Last thing I want to mention is House Bill 354, which you guys probably are aware of, is the creation of PV drug court for Seneca County. Was passed by the House, I believe, late last year. A few weeks ago, myself and Judge Rep and Judge Kelby went and testified in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. The bill came out clean, and is my understanding will be voted by the Senate today. So if this pass could possibly be affected here soon after the governor signs it, is my understanding 90 days after he signs it. So this will be the first multi-jurisdiction drug court in the state of Ohio, and we are very optimistic that this will be in place here very soon. So I just gotta make a few phone calls this afternoon to see what happens at the Senate.
Well, I mean, this is no minor accomplishment. This is legislation, as we know, the pace of government sometimes. I just got to congratulate you and the team of judges for pursuing this and following through with it. The fact is that this, again, as you said, I think we need to repeat it and make a lot of noise. It's the first legislation in the state of Ohio that actually allows a joint justice system to hear cases. It's a beta site, and I think we're going to be very proud of those people that were involved in it and getting that legislation passed. It's very close. I know it's been through the House. Has the Senate voted on it yet?
The Senate is voting today.
Okay,
The Senate Judiciary Committee voted and passed it.
Okay.
recommendation
So we are
of
very
for
close.
the.
Yeah, I mean, this is historic legislation when it comes to drug courts. And hopefully a beta site for the rest of for the other 88, or the other 87 counties.
Correct, and again, big thanks to Representative Reinicke who really pushed this forward.
Yes.
Again, the House passed it late last year with a 94-0 vote. It's kind of unheard of, so that was huge. And due to this, a group of us were invited to actually present at the Ohio Opioid Conference in June on again, the drug court that's happening here in Seneca County. So.
How's the acceptance of the text for
Crisis text
yeah.
line.
Yeah. How are things going with that?
It's,
Particularly interested in how the suicide prevention efforts are working.
yeah, it's going well. It's very hard for us to get data that can pinpoint us exactly to the location of whoever is sending the texts, just because it's all confidential. We are continuing to receive. I don't have the exact numbers with me right now. That's another thing that was my last thing to talk. We are concerned about children behavioral health and children suicide. We're trying to do something, I guess, outside of the box to reach out to these children. We see more and more suicides or suicide attempts in the 3 counties. Again, with really young children. Honestly, I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I guess I know what it changed, but we really discussed this in the last 2 board meetings in depth as a board. We're concerned about some of the family structure. We're concerned about maybe some of the social media, video games, you name it. There are so many things that are happening in these children's lives now that is different than maybe what some of us were used to, 20, 25 years ago or so. But
so we should expect to see some kind of event or some kind of promotion?
You're going to be able to see, we are trying to do some sort of marketing campaign to try to reach the high-risk population. So this might be through various innovative things like Snapchat and other things. Is something that we realize that if we try to do a lot in the local newspaper or on the billboards, we might not reach people who need to be reached. We might reach people that already know the message. So we know what we need to get out. We just got to get it out differently. We try to get it out different than what we ever got it out before. Similar to pregnant women. We can go and advertise as much as we can among professionals, but those are not the people that need to hear the message. How do we get the message to the people who need to hear it? So it's the same thing here with children. We have to almost put ourselves in their shoes and figure out very innovative ways to get the message out to them.
Have you tried to form a teen advisory group or?
Yeah, right now we have a suicide prevention coalition that's meeting regularly, and they are looking for partnering with either T or Harvard students as well as maybe TIFF and Columbian students to come with some ways that might be way above my head on how to.
Even middle school, right?
I mean, we see very young. You're right. Yeah.
And if you're in crisis, you should text
741 741. Got the number.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Thank you for the work you do. Okay, we are going to move into executive session. Oh, you've got a couple of things, don't you? You've got RFQ for engineer and
And I think we
architect.
had wind, fridge, and
a wind fridge.
Yeah.
We'll go back up to parking, and I'll have Shane help me with this. John asked me, or mentioned yesterday, that he wants to start getting the parking lots numbered since the weather's getting better. I just don't remember if we've brought that conversation back into session after some conversations about what spaces are gonna get left open. I just wanted to bring that back up before John started painting or having somebody come in and paint.
Yeah, there's not been any decision since the initial decision, obviously, which was carving out spots and RTA commissioners in Hanson. So we have some, supplemental discussion that we may be having. So maybe we just defer that conversation to the end of the meeting.
Yeah, I don't want to micromanage, but I'd sure like to see a kind of a drawing or a map or something similar to how many spaces are here, and how many spaces are there, and, you know, what they're gonna look like.
Yeah, because I think her initial resolution, and that's the only reason I bring it up, is the initial resolution actually said a certain amount in the RTA, and I think we've kind of,
Yeah,
so we have to
Yeah, it's
obviously amend
20,
that.
24 instead of 20.
Okay.
That's the difference.
yeah, if we could maybe get just, some type of graph that shows us what's going on there. Okay.
And,
And RFQ, you wanna talk about wind farm? We're still in the old business here.
yeah.
Sure. Just-
Meeting in Bellevue.
Yes, we were all invited to be part of a meeting for the Seneca Anti-Wind Union in Bellevue on the 5th. I know I cannot attend that night. Don't know if either of you can, or if we want to. My concerns, it's not a concern of going to the meeting, the concern is all the issues that were mentioned in the email that they want to cover that we've never have, and we are not the experts on the wind technology and all of these things. We're just basically kind of the conduit for wind development in the county with the fact that this board many years ago put in the alternate energy zone. So don't know how we want to approach this, if we're going to get back with him and say, let's come up with some dates, maybe Stacy can collect from us some probable dates, call him back and say, you know, we're game to come to this, and these are the things we can talk about, we can hear you out, but we think we need to have somebody from the project as an authoritative basis there if you expect to accomplish all of this. Otherwise, they're gonna feel like they're gonna target us with a bunch of questions that we aren't the abilities to answer.
Or the sighting board,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, so I don't know how you wanna
Sighting board.
approach it, I just feel we gotta get back to.
Okay, well,
back to
I've
them.
responded that I will be there already.
Okay.
To them. So, I certainly don't have answers. I
Yeah.
asked the wind folks to give me some information and go in at least prepared. But, you know, I've read all their concerns, and, you know, we're not qualified to answer most of them, as you say, but you know, it's a group of citizens who have a opinion, so I just thought somebody ought to be there, listen to it, or invited to be there, so I'll, you know, I know I'm gonna be there.
Okay, I didn't know if anybody had talked, because I hadn't talked to you, so,
Yeah,
okay. So he's aware that you can attend.
yeah.
Alright. The other one, there's someone coming in this afternoon to ask, along the same lines, I don't believe he's part of this group at all, just had some concerns and,
Yeah, I've called him, because I can't make this afternoon's meeting, so I've
Okay.
called him and talked to him.
okay, so I think he's.
But I think he's still planning on coming in.
Yeah,
I don't think I got it. Did somebody call the office here and talk to all of us, or?
Did he call
yeah,
you
he
to
called
set the
him-
meeting?
Okay.
Jess? Yeah, I don't know, it just showed up on the calendar, because I'm not really sure who put it on, but.
Painting, that was the
Oh, yeah.
parking lot, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the RFQ for the engineer architect?
Yes, we've got numerous projects that we've been talking about and looking at it, and I'll specifically mention the museum. The company, the IAP company that we've reached out to do some of the work for the Carrie's house and some of the things, HVAC, electric in the museum that we wanted to address. Getting in further into the process, they are more of a project manager type firm. They do not do the scope of work. So it was a little misleading, but, you know, they are a project manager. But I think with some of these projects, you know, Carriage House, we've gotten funding from the state now as long as it goes through. And, you know, some work we've talked about doing on the museum. I'm looking to do just an RFQ for, or a statement of qualifications for an architect engineer. The only thing I would need now is just a little bit of money for advertising. But just by chance, late last week, there was a broadcast from another county that are gonna do the same, that are doing the same thing. They're sending out a RFQ or a SOQ for just engineers in general that can do small projects, medium projects, and large projects. Architects and engineers are not required to bid out, but I'm just not familiar with more engineering firms around, and I really think it would benefit us to be able to put that out, just so I have somebody that's been qualified by our process, and I can call if you guys decide you know, you need to move on a project, so.
So when we send our request for qualification, when we send those out, we are not necessarily picking a specific firm.
No.
We would then have a file of some firms who are qualified in the event that we need to call them about a specific project.
Yes.
So in advance, we would know
Yep.
that they're qualified to give us a bid architecturally or from an engineering standpoint.
Yep. And if we get into a much larger project, like the Justice Center, then we would probably go ahead and resubmit for a,
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
that's a specific purpose that I think, you know.
So do
especially-
we have anyone on file now who is qualified?
Well, we have a couple firms that we've been using, but I think, you know, it's good to open our pool of vendors and, you know, I just am not familiar with more of the local or even surrounding areas. I just think it would be good to get some people familiar with us and us familiar with other engineers and architects. You know, we've used,
Similar people.
yep, we've
along the
used,
way.
yep. And not that we don't want to continue to partner up with those current engineers. I just think it would be good to, you know, get more in the pool. So if you don't have any objections, I'd like to just put out just a simple request for, you know, qualifications. I'll draft something up and send it to you before I do to make sure it's what you, I mean, it's, the only thing it's gonna cost us is just, the advertising and then, you know, we'll go through and, you know, qualify some of them to make, but it'll give us a list to choose from,
Right.
and which would be very helpful.
Would you anticipate getting a call back from them that's asking what type of projects we're looking at to submit qualifications, or?
Well, the responses I've got on the broadcast that the other county did, they have left their advertising in their response vague, talking about there again, small projects, medium projects, and large projects. So, I mean, I can give some examples, but I don't think I want to limit to, you know, just HVAC or, you know, I think I would just request it as a broad statement, because, I mean, it's all architect and engineering. They should be able to do roofs, HVAC, facade, electrical.
I'm just thinking somebody might be a specialist in historic restoration, and if we talk about the museum project,
Sure.
whether or not we do that, that's, you know, one set of qualifications.
yeah.
You know, I have a high interest in what's happening at the RTA and the health department, so, you know, those are very different types of skill sets, I would think.
Sure.
So I don't know if we should have at ready some of these projects that we're thinking about, or so that when we get the right pool back.
I guess, or do we list a list of potential projects, and they just indicate if they'd like to speak directly to any of those types of work listed? I mean, then if we get looking at the pool, we say, wow, this one's got historic, this one does not.
Right.
This one doesn't ever do
Right.
facades, whatever it would be.
Yeah. Because they'll list their
We can do that.
background, they'll list I'll send you a copy of a sample of a request for
Yeah.
Yeah,
qualification.
so I think we
So
could
you
ask
can-
them to speak directly to experiences in projects in the
Yeah.
future may include and not limited to.
Right,
But I think we need to illuminate, you know, our top 5 or whatever we
Yeah.
have, so
sure.
that we're attracting the right pool. And then, so am I right, am I correct in that if we choose an architect or engineering firm, we choose them and then we proceed to negotiate fee?
Yeah, we would negotiate, yeah.
And if we don't come to an agreement on the fee, then they go off the list?
For that project.
For that project.
Not
Yeah.
necessarily for every project.
Yeah.
Right, it'd be for that project.
But that's the
Yep,
course of events?
yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because they won't provide in any of the documentation any sort of cost or fee structure. It's just a statement of qualifications of the engineering firm, so.
So I think the sense is to go forward and spend what you have
I'll
to
send you
spend
some
to
copies,
advertise.
and
Good, very good.
I just wanted to bring that up just because I found just getting more in depth with IEP, working on these projects. You know, they're requesting that we bring in an engineer for the museum and the carriage house, which, you know, my impression of that they were gonna do that portion, but they need us to do a detailed scope of work, and, you know, I don't have that ability. I don't know the architecture of the building and to be able to do HVAC, and so that's why I'm kind of bringing this up. Just, not that IEP is not doing, they're doing what they've advertised, and they will be more than happy to help us if we need it, but I just think this is a little, especially those projects got a
So
little
it
more
came under a
detail.
category of too good to be true.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But they're being helpful, so I don't want to discourage anybody from using them, because it seems like a good project if you have a scope. We submitted the scope for the jail because we already had the detail of how thick the rubber is, so that's a good project, because we basically have the scope, we have the detail of what all of our other roofs are going to be, so that's kind of where they could come in, they could put the bid specs together for us, and that would be a project, because we have a scope.
Okay, any other agenda items?
Refrigerator?
Refrigerator, yep.
Oh,
And,
the refrigerator in the room.
I move that we buy a refrigerator for the sheriff.
I had a big
I missed this.
speech.
Oh, yeah.
let him do the speech.
Question is, who's gonna move it in the building?
I'll take care of that, I got plenty of help.
I don't know, they're working on the justice center.
That's cold, that's cold. Okay, so we have a motion.
Did you see the email in this?
I did not, so
Okay.
I'll let you second, and then I'll ask questions, you guys can answer.
Okay, I'll second. Go ahead,
Okay.
discussion.
Can we ask the
What
sheriff?
fridge?
What fridge, and, yeah, I missed the email, sorry, I was at the Park District thing, I think.
Well, we've had some problems with the refrigerator, and I can't tell you how long it's been sitting in that kitchen, other than I've been walking around and sometimes into it, and I swear that somebody moved that monster a time or two so that I would, but. And we've had some folks in to take care of it, and the last time they came in said, you're living on borrowed time, you might want to replace this. Now, I hate them dumping money into an old piece of equipment that, don't tell Julie, but I looked on my inventory sheet and I didn't see it, so. It does have an asset sticker on it, but I couldn't find that rascal, so. But anyways.
It's old.
It's old, and so we got our money's worth out of it and then some, so. To replace it, I went local, went to Burns Electric and said, can you guys find me something similar to this if you can't get me one of these, because that thing lasted forever. And they can't get that one, but they can get another one. Comes with a 3-year warranty on the box and 5-year on the compressor, so I think we should be good for a while because approved the purchase. But it's something that the kitchen
It's not your
staff uses
standard,
repeatedly every day, so.
It's not your standard kitchen refrigerator. How much
No.
is this baby?
$10,070.
It's over 4 feet wide, 6.5 feet tall, and 3 feet deep, and she's got it loaded full of stuff, so.
Sounds like a couple deputies.
Thank you.
Now you,
Now I know, thank you for bringing me up to speed.
okay, hit the roll call.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes,
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirchner?
Yes. Any other agenda items?
Other than the resolutions?
Right. Okay, why don't you hit those on the new business? yes.
Okay. I have a supplement to the permit appropriations to the concealed handgun license fund, putting $500 into supplies. I have a supplement to the permit appropriation to the capital projects fund, putting $23,870 into the Ag Center roof. This is what we talked about last week. Told you I'd get the paperwork ready for this week. They were working on the roof that was covered under the insurance claim. Last week they started, so get that money put in place. I have a resolution authorizing a fund advance from the general fund to the CDBG 17 fund. The amount is $133,100. I have permanent appropriations to the CDBG fund 2017. Total for the CSB restroom, Village of New Regal sidewalks, and the New Regal sewer district upgrades is a total of $151,000. And I have a resolution authorizing contract between the City of Tiffin and the Seneca County Victims Assistance Program for Victims Assistance Services. And I have a resolution authorizing the Seneca County engineer to utilize credit cards for expenditures. And I think that's all the resolutions I have. Charlene is here if there's any questions on the CDBG. if you had any questions.
Okay, any questions about the new business that we just went over?
Move that we accept.
All right.
Second,
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy?
yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
And
Okay.
I'm gonna add to that resolution that you guys motioned for the sheriff's fridge, just to add that we're gonna do as a supplemental appropriations to, his equipment line. I mean, you
Okay.
motioned to do it, but I wanna make sure that we add the actual, account line that we're gonna be putting into, which will be the sheriff's equipment line. If that's acceptable,
Yeah.
makes sense to. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, the time has come for public comment. Questions? Ronnie, yes.
I just have one comment for the public. The CDBG grant is going to be going into full swing here in the spring, so you're going to be seeing some sidewalk repairs in New Riegel. So be patient as they do those, New Riegel residents. We'd like to ask that, but it's your village making an upgrade and your county making an upgrade. We also want to make everybody aware that there's going to be lots of public meetings starting here in April to do with our comprehensive planning as well as active transportation planning. And you will start seeing schedules popping up on Facebook and on websites and here. So we want to encourage and emphasize that we need the public's comment so we can make these plans work. And then on a side note, we have the Project Seneca Help event tomorrow on State Route 53 at the church. And that is to help families in need. There will be all kinds of services available. It's an on-site service event. So you could come in and actually get services to help with housing, registering for HEAP or PIP, veteran services, a free haircut if necessary. You will get free meals. There's breakfast and lunch. And you will leave with a great big grocery or laundry basket full of food to take home if you attend the event. So this is to help our residents in Seneca County who are in need, sponsored by the Homeless Coalition and multiple other agencies in the county. So we just want to make that clear to everyone, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
On the reinstatement of the ag agent, is that to be solely, that person's solely going to be serving Seneca County, or will it be a shared?
It is Seneca County. And when, the way they do the wording, it talks about a support for different, like it might say agronomy or livestock and this kind of thing. That is so that agents with expertise, say we need somebody with those expertise that the agent we hire doesn't have, will come and help us, as well as this agent might go and help in another county back and forth that way, but it is a dedicated position responsibility to Seneca County.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments?
Roland, would you like to tell us about a big event this morning?
I didn't anticipate doing that.
Sure, we want to hear about it. This is great news.
We initiated this morning our new office, which is located out where Family Services used to be. We had a huge crowd there this morning, which was extremely surprising to all of us. And we once again need to thank the public for what they have done for us in the past, the volunteers, and the commissioners over the years have been very helpful to the Seneca County Park District. Thank you for all three of the commissioners attended this morning, which was quite an honor for the park board. In fact, we mentioned that fact about that.
You guys did a great job with that.
Yeah, it was a wonderful event. You know, what has inspired me throughout the 4 years here is that the volunteerism in Seneca County is so cute. There are so many people who are involved in things, and I hope we don't forget the shoulders that we're standing on, that we now have a fully funded park district. There's a lot of folks for how many years, Roland, has that district been in existence?
22 years now.
22 years, so for the first 20 at least, it was completely done by volunteers, you included, and you know, Roy's in. I don't want to get into names because I'll forget somebody, but thank you, and again, to remember that we are, as a county, now standing on your shoulders, because those are the folks that brought all that to be, so thank you for that.
Personally, I do not believe, and our volunteers believe, it can never be duplicated, ever. And I primarily came this morning, I talked with John, and we would like to see the first 20 years of the Park District as part of the courthouse
Yes, that's a
Yes,
great idea.
Yes,
Okay.
perfect.
And
Yes,
I have
glad
a
to
few
hear that.
more of them if anybody needed them.
Okay, wonderful. Yep, we'll add that to the time capsule.
That's the first 20 years, and
Here's to the next 50.
Yeah.
there's,
Absolutely. May you be around for the next one.
And as stated, I think all those volunteers that have made things and kept things in the dream and the reality and kept things happening to get to the point you are today is evident that what a key part and that was solidified with the vote for the levy you put out there. As Shane mentioned that at the ribbon cutting this morning, but then also in the fact that you came forward with being part of the comprehensive plan for Seneca County because you know what a key part you are in the community and just joined, right part of that whole cooperative nature and momentum that's going. So we appreciate that.
we're proud to join that project, really proud.
Thank you, Rob, for your support.
Yeah.
Okay, I need a motion to go into executive committee for the purpose of land acquisition and that's it.
So moved.
So moved.
Once again, thank
We need a
you.
roll call vote on that.
Really
Okay,
appreciate
roll call, get it.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Chalmers?
Yes.
Commissioner
On my way, yes.